So here, I'm sitting behind the kit now to be able to show you a little more about what this kit really does when it's talking. We've talked about the tulip wood being so much more expressive. It's a soft wood. You know, going back to initially the snare drums back in the Civil War, what they were used for, it wasn't just as the soldiers were marching they would play it to keep in time. They would also use it as a signal to signal whether there was an attack coming or whatever it was. They used it as a voice for something. So what Noble and Cooley has done by creating these drums using that same wood is allowing these drums to have their voice in a musical and a band context, you know. And I think when you hear them individually, and I'm going to use mallets at first just because that's such a pure, you don't get any of the attack, it's really just the shell that you're hearing here. You know, you get to understand a little bit about what that is. You don't hear anything else around it. If you can imagine playing in a band or whatever where the tone is important as opposed to any of extreme overtones or anything, here is what it is. Clean. You can actually have a whole thing with mallets, and you would sometimes find on drums when you're doing something with mallets that with so many overtones going on, it can muddle the individual tones as you're playing. But with these, well, here you go. I mean, every piece of that, there's no confusing what's happening between the toms. Take that, start using sticks with them, and all of a sudden you start hearing it's a very modern attack. As soon as you hear the head of the stick hit the drum, it's not like a vintage kit where everything is a little more muted, which is just the character that an old kit gives. This kit has a very modern approach when you first hit the tom, and then you have the vintage roll-off on the back. Here, we'll keep the snare off for just a second. Every piece of the sticks on there, there's no confusion as to what's going on. There's not a lot of rumbling going on the low end, and this is just a 14. Let's not forget about the size that we're talking about. Can you imagine what a 16 and 18 does on the low end here? And how low you could go, because this is pretty low for a 14. So I'm going to just go and play for a bit, and then I think you'll get an understanding of why I love these drums so much. Yeah. I honestly can't say enough about how inspiring it is to hit these drums and get these tones back in such a clean and responsive way. It just makes me want to keep playing them. So you know very well I'm going to be on the phone to Noble and Cooley as soon as we get done with this shoot. I mean, I got to be honest, even the fact that I can tune it down to the fact that, to the point that these lugs are almost loose on the snare drum. I mean, they're barely screwed in enough to not be wiggling around, and have it sound any kind of decent, forget about good, is unheard of. Like that old Motown groove, kind of like this. Yeah, I mean they fill all the right boxes. It's perfect.